Craftsman Days are here at Lowe's with big savings on the tools you need. Right now, get a free select tool when you buy the Craftsman V20 2-pack battery kit. Whether it's the backyard, the bathroom, or beyond, Craftsman has the tools to help you power through and get the project done right. Because DIYing is unpredictable, but your tools shouldn't be. Shop Craftsman at Lowe's today. Valid through 6/18 while supplies last. Selection varies by location.
Nats Chat is brought to you by Walters. Walters is the spot to be at this summer in Navy Yard. Make sure to check out Walters Self-Pour Wall, Walters Unlimited Televisions, and Walters Outdoor Patio.
Located just across the street from Nationals Park. Open daily at 11 a.m.
Now 2-1 to Trey. The pitch. Swing a line drive deep left field toward the corner. Will it stay fair? It's back there, and it is fair off the wall. Heading home is Sosa to third, Castellanos, and slotting it at second with a wall ball double is Trey Turner. And the Phillies lead 2-0. Now the 1-1. Abrams hits a ground ball to first. Step on the bag there. Now it's a timing play. The run will score. Ruiz caught on a rundown, but this is a tie game. Ruiz is tagged out by Turner. That's a great job by the Nationals to get in the rundown with the first baseman Ellis stepping on first. That took away the force play, made it a timing play. The run will count, and it's a 2-2 ball game. Gore's delivery is launched in the air to left center field. Back it goes. Dickerson to the track, at the wall, and it's gone down into the Phillies bullpen. Phillies back in front 3-2. JT Realmuto with his fourth homer of the season.
And now the 0-2 on the way. Swing and a miss. Kimbrel strikes out Abrams and closes the door on the Nationals for career save number 402.
And welcome to Nats Chat for Sunday, June 4th, 2023. I'm Al Galdi, host of the Al Galdi podcast. Mark Zuckerman is off for this installment of the podcast. Hope that you're having a nice weekend. The Nationals' 2-game winning streak is over. The Philadelphia Phillies' 5-game losing streak is over. A 4-2 Nats loss to the Phillies at Nationals Park on Saturday in Game 2 of a 3-game series. Don't forget to check out our new website, natschatpodcast.com, which allows you to listen to previous installments of the show, contact the show, and order a Nats Chat podcast t-shirt. Also, if you have like 20 seconds to spare, please consider giving the podcast a 5-star rating on Apple Podcasts or on Spotify. The 5-star ratings help out the podcast a lot, and thank you very much for doing them. They are appreciated. Later in the show, I will discuss the report from the Washington Post on Saturday morning on Stephen Strasburg. Man, the Strasburg conversation is changing. It's going from his career almost certainly being over to now his quality of life possibly being impacted going forward. Some frightening stuff. And also in this report, a jaw-dropping reveal regarding the Strasburg contract. But the hope with the likes of starting pitchers Josiah Gray and MacKenzie Gore, of course, is that they can be Strasburg-like for the Nats in terms of effectiveness. We in the Nats' wild 8-7 win over the Phillies on Friday night saw Gray have a not-so-great outing, right? 4 runs in 5 1/3 innings. We in this 4-2 loss to the Phillies on Saturday saw MacKenzie Gore be okay. He wasn't good, but he wasn't bad. 3 runs in 6 innings. The biggest problem was that he gave up a lot of hits. He gave up 9 hits, a home run, 2 doubles, and 6 singles. But he had 6 strikeouts versus no walks. You like that. He threw 101 pitches, 63 strikes versus 38 balls. Gore in the top of the second allowed a run on a one-out double by JT Realmuto to left field and a 2-out RBI single by ex-Nat Josh Harrison to left field on a 1-2 pitch for a 1-0 Phillies lead. Yeah, you may have forgotten Josh Harrison is on the Phillies. The Phillies have about 4,000 ex-Nats on the team. Josh Harrison, not the most prominent of the ex-Nats on the Phillies, but Josh Harrison, very much an ex-Nat on the Phils. Gore in the top of the third allowed a run on a leadoff single by Edmundo Sosa to left field on a 1-2 pitch. A 1-out infield single by Nick Castellanos on a broken bat grounder on which third baseman Jeimer Candelario double-clutched on his throw to first base, and a 2-out RBI double by an ex-Nat, Trey Turner, off the left field wall near the left field corner for a 2-0 Phillies lead. And Gore in the top of the 6th allowed a run on a leadoff tie-breaking home run by JT Realmuto to left center field for a 3-2 Phillies lead. So, decent outing by Gore. Not good, but not bad. You know, it's interesting to me when you do the compare and contrast of MacKenzie Gore versus Josiah Gray in this regular season. Each guy now has made 12 starts. Each guy has a whip of 142. Gray has the lower ERA, 3.09 to Gore's 3.66. Gore has the better strikeouts per 9 innings, 11.25 to Gray's 7.39. There's also a drastic difference in each guy's BABIP allowed. Each guy's batting average on balls in play allowed. League average BABIP allowed tends to be around 300. Gore's BABIP allowed now is a sky-high 346. Gray's BABIP allowed is at 281. That would suggest that MacKenzie Gore has suffered from some bad luck and Josiah Gray has benefited from some good luck. And with Gore, I mean, you think about like that infield single by Nick Castellanos on Saturday. That would be an example of MacKenzie Gore's bad luck on balls in play, a broken bad grounder on which Jeimer Candelario ends up double clutching, and the result is an infield single. But overall, when it comes to Gore versus Gray, it's 6 in one, half dozen in the other in terms of which guy has been better. The key is that both guys this season have been a lot more good than bad. And, that is the foundation upon which we are seeing this improved Nats team. It starts with Gore and Gray and what those guys have done this season. And while, Gray lately has not been at his best, and, Gore on Saturday wasn't necessarily at his best, you still are so encouraged overall by what you're seeing from these guys this season. The Nats bullpen on Saturday was fine. Manager Davey Martinez in the win on Friday night unloaded the Nats A bullpen. He in that game used Carl Edwards Jr., Hunter Harvey, Mason Thompson, and Kyle Finnegan. Davey in this game on Saturday only had to use 2 relievers. They were Erasmo Ramirez and Chad Kuhl. So not exactly the Nats A bullpen, but Ramirez and Kuhl combined to allow 1 run in 3 innings. Erasmo Ramirez officially allowed 1 run in 1 inning. He tossed a perfect top of the 7th, and he in what ended up being a Phillies 1-run 8th gave up a leadoff first pitch double by Bryce Harper to right field and then issued a walk of another ex-Nat, Trey Turner. And Chad Kuhl tossed 2 scoreless innings. He came into the game in the top of the 8th with runners on first and second, no outs, and the Nats down 3-2. He, in what ended up being that Phillies 1-run 8th, retired all 3 batters he faced. Now, the second out was a 1-out RBI sac fly by Brandon Marsh for a 4-2 Phillies lead. But Kuhl then tossed a scoreless top of the 9th. The sample size for Chad Kuhl as a reliever for the Nats is small, but the results so far have actually been pretty good. Chad Kuhl as a reliever for the Nats, 4 games, 7 1/3 innings, 1 earned run, a whip of 0.95. Again, small sample size, but so far so good. I mean, at least Chad Kuhl is giving the Nats some value as a reliever. He really struggled as a starting pitcher, then suffered the foot injury, but since coming back from the foot injury as a reliever, has actually done some pretty good things here for the Nats. The Nats offense in this 4-2 loss to the Phillies on Saturday got cooled off. The Nats, over their previous 2 games, totaled 18 runs. The Nats in this game, a mere 2 runs. The Nats had just 7 hits and just 2 walks. All 7 of the hits were singles. No Nat in this game had more than 1 hit. This was a bullpen game for the Phillies too, but 7 Phillies relievers ended up combining to allow 2 runs in 9 innings. It's funny, in game 1 of this series, a game started by a guy who in theory is one of the better starting pitchers in the National League East, right? Zach Wheeler. The Nats hit quite well. In game 2 of this series, a bullpen game for the Phillies, the Nats did not hit so well. All of the Nats runs in this game on Saturday came in the bottom of the 4th. Props to Keibert Ruiz. So he is the Nats starting catcher and number 6 batter, went 1 for 4 with an RBI single. He in the 2-run 4th had a 1-out first pitch RBI single to right field to cut the Nats deficit to 2-1. And then Ruiz, on what ended up being C.J. Abrams' inning-ending 3-6 double play, sustained a rundown long enough for Dominic Smith to score to tie the game at 2.
Ruiz caught on a rundown, but this is a tie game. Ruiz is tagged out by Turner. That's a great job by the Nationals to get in the rundown.
A very nice heads-up play by Keibert Ruiz, who has made some outs on the base pass. I've talked about that on this podcast. But Ruiz, in this instance, demonstrating a cerebral nature on the base pass. So well done by him. But otherwise, just not much happening for the Nats offensively in this game. Alex Kuhl, he is the Nats starting center fielder and number 9 batter, 0 for 2 with a walk. He got picked off at first base. Kuhl in the bottom of the 5th reached base via fielder's choice, but then got picked off at first base for the 3rd out. That was rough. C.J. Abrams as the Nats starting shortstop and number 8 batter, 1 for 4 with an infield single, but he in the bottom of the 9th struck out on 3 consecutive swings and misses against Phillies closer Craig Kimbrell to end the game. that was a rough plate appearance for C.J. Abrams. Speaking of striking out, Lane Thomas, he is the Nats starting right fielder and number one batter, went 0 for 4 with 2 called strikeouts, each of which featured some really bad called strikes by the home plate umpire, Ben May. And I'm not big on going crazy over bad ball and strike calls by home plate umpires because I think that these umpires, by and large, do good jobs on balls and strikes. And doing good jobs on balls and strikes is not easy, especially in this day and age of like every pitcher throwing, 95 plus. And to me, there should be automatic ball and strike calls anyway. I am a fan. I am an endorser of the automated strike zone in Major League Baseball. These umps are put in impossible positions to where if the umps get like 98% of the calls right, people still hammer the umps for not getting the other 2% correct. But all of that said, it was funny to me seeing Lane Thomas sound off on Ben May after that second strikeout. We don't hear from Lane Thomas often, to say nothing of we don't see him say things to umpires often. I mean, say to yourself right now, what does Lane Thomas sound like? Can you even in your mind envision what Lane Thomas sounds like? Like, I bet for a lot of you know, right? He just, you don't hear from him all that much. And yet, these calls by Ben May were egregious enough to where Lane Thomas all of a sudden became Earl Weaver and was letting May have it.
Here's the pitch. Fastball, strike 3 called.
Wow.
Maybe.
Thomas is upset again. That pitch appeared to be outside. That's twice he's been rung up. And he's given it to the umpire.
Boy, he is hot. That's about as angry as you'll see Lane Thomas get.
And Ben May, I guess to his credit, let Thomas have his say. Thomas did not get tossed. We have seen guys get tossed for saying less. Thomas did not get tossed, and I wonder if maybe Ben May deep down inside knew that he had botched some of his calls, but he did botch those calls. Also on Saturday, Dominic Smith got a hit. He is the Nats starting first baseman and number 5 batter, 1 for 3 with a single and a hit by pitch. Smith in the Nats 2-run fourth, a 1-out single to center field to snap a 1 for 16 slump. Dom Smith needed that. Game 3 for the Nats against the Phillies Sunday afternoon at 1:35. Trevor Williams will be the Nats starting pitcher. Hey, are you a law firm partner stuck on an underperforming team while the rest of the competitors are spending big and winning big? Well, unlike MacKenzie, Gore, and Keibert Ruiz, you have options. You don't have to stay on your 60-win team. Nats Chat sponsor Mason Kalfis and his team specialize in placing partners and associates at medium-sized and large law firms in Washington, D.C. and across the country. Mason Kalfis has recruiters in 6 states and has placed lawyers in more than half of the 100 largest law firms in the United States. While you may be reading doom and gloom from the legal press, many practices are red-hot. Antitrust, IP litigation, white-collar litigation, finance and direct lending, and healthcare. Because you are not under a CBA or team control for 6 years. In fact, staying at a firm too long is often a recipe for being underpaid. Explore your options today with Mason Kalfis. Call Mason today at 202-486-3535. That number again, 202-486-3535.
Getting tickets to sporting events has changed from the old days. There are more options than ever before, but Game Time stands out above the rest. If you need last-minute tickets to the ballpark or any other local sporting event, visit GameTime.co. They even have options to purchase parking. It's the fastest-growing ticketing app in the country for a reason. Get images of your seat before you buy, so you know exactly what to expect when you arrive. Snag the tickets without the stress with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code NATSCHAT for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code NATSCHAT for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed.
He's not doing anything baseball-wise. I met with him yesterday. We had a good discussion. He's not going to be here today. He felt that he didn't want to distract from the opening day festivities, and he's just taking it day by day and trying to just get healthy.
So we on Saturday had this Nats 4-2 loss to the Phillies, but we on Saturday morning had this report on Stephen Strasburg. Nats insider Jesse Dougherty of the Washington Post on Saturday morning came out with a report painting a really grim picture for Nats starting pitcher Stephen Strasburg. The report stated that Strasburg, per 3 people familiar with the situation, has been completely shut down from physical activity again and is dealing with, quote, severe nerve damage, end quote. Said the report of the surgery to address thoracic outlet syndrome that Strasburg underwent on July 28, 2021. Quote, the surgery removed a rib and 2 muscles from his neck. Last summer, he couldn't stand for long before his right hand went numb. He often had to lie down and press his hand against his chest to be a warped version of comfortable, end quote. Jesse Dougherty in the report also said that the Nats, according to 4 people within the organization, do not have any disability insurance on Strasburg's 7-year, $245 million contract. So 2 big items in this report. Let's deal with each of the major items in the report. So first, this reveal that Strasburg has been completely shut down from physical activity again and is dealing with, quote, severe nerve damage, end quote. Just awful. I hated reading that. You know, at this point, forget about Stephen Strasburg's career. That, to me, has essentially been over for a while now. I mean, I said it when he got this surgery for thoracic outlet syndrome. TOS is a destroyer of pitchers' careers, and more likely than not, the Stephen Strasburg who we had come to know was gone. And now it looks like his career is gone. At this point, the hot take isn't that Strasburg's career is over. At this point, the hot take is that Strasburg's career is not over, okay? He's done. He's never pitching again. But put that aside. At this point, the concern with Strasburg isn't his career. The concern is his quality of life. I mean, this guy can't get right. And that he's dealing with, quote, severe nerve damage, end quote, very concerning. You know, Strasburg, as of last check, has 2 young daughters. The notion that he may have trouble, picking them up and playing with them, etc., because of, quote, severe nerve damage, end quote, just awful, man. I hated reading this. You know, we hear about former NFL players having major physical problems. We don't often hear about former Major League Baseball players having major physical problems, but it's sounding like Stephen Strasburg moving forward could have significant health issues, so we certainly wish him the best. But as for the Nats not having any disability insurance on the Stephen Strasburg 7-year, $245 million contract, so this is something that we've all wondered about. And boy, the Nats do not have this insurance really is something. I mean, you think about this logically, okay? Given the enormous nature of the contract, again, 7 years, $245 million. Given Strasburg's substantial injury history at the time of signing the contract, given Strasburg's age at the time of signing the contract, Strasburg signed this contract off having already entered his 30s. The Nats' 2019 World Series championship season was Strasburg's age 30 season. He signed this contract in December 2019. Given all of these things, how in the world did the Lerners not take out any disability insurance on this contract? I mean, that to me is nuts. That to me is classic penny wise and a pound foolish. Look, we know the deal with the Lerners as Nats owners. The Lerners as Nats owners have shown this propensity for not spending money until absolutely necessary. Now, the Lerners, to their credit, have spent quite a bit on player salaries. But on things other than player salaries, there has been this penchant for not spending until absolutely necessary. I wonder if this is why the Lerners did not take out any disability insurance on the Strasburg contract. In other words, well, the insurance is expensive, we may not even need it, so why spend the money on it? That kind of a thing. But whatever the reason, okay, wow, I would think that the Lerners now very much regret not taking out any disability insurance on this contract. Wow, nothing has gone well for Stephen Strasburg since he signed this contract. 7 years, $245 million. He signs the deal in December 2019 off having opted out of his previous contract and off, of course, having won 2019 World Series MVP. And ever since this contract was signed, it has been a nightmare for Stephen Strasburg professionally. Strasburg in the 2020 regular season made just 2 starts. He, on August 26, 2020, underwent surgery to alleviate carpal tunnel neuritis in his right hand. Strasburg in the 2021 regular season made just 5 starts. He, on July 28, 2021, underwent that surgery to address thoracic outlet syndrome, and Strasburg in the 2022 regular season made just 1 major league start. He in a 7-4 loss at the Miami Marlins on June 9th, 2022, so almost a full year ago at this point, allowed 7 runs in 4 2/3 innings, and then just 5 days later, June 14th, 2022, the Nats put Strasburg on the 15-day injured list, retroactive to June 11th, 2022, with a stress reaction of the ribs, and the Nats on July 14th, 2022, transferred Strasburg to the 60-day injured list. And since that, we've had 3 major updates on Strasburg, each one seemingly more ominous than the previous one. September 16th, 2022, a piece by Jesse Dougherty on Strasburg, who in the piece admitted that he was uncertain whether he would ever pitch in a game again. Then Davey Martinez in a press conference this past February 15th, what was the day of the first workout for pitchers and catchers at 2023 National Spring Training in West Palm Beach, Florida, revealed that Strasburg had been shut down due to a recurrence of nerve pain, and the recurrence had happened off just 2 bullpen sessions. And now we have this report from Jesse Dougherty on Saturday morning. Look, you don't need to be shedding any tears for Stephen Strasburg, okay? You certainly don't need to be setting up a GoFundMe for Stephen Strasburg, but, this isn't about the money. It is sad what has happened with him. So again, all the best to him. I hope that there is a way, I so hope that there is a way in which Strasburg can get a proper goodbye at Nationals Park. I'm not sure how, I'm not sure when, but he deserves a proper goodbye. He is one of the best clutch performers in Washington, D.C. sports history. Never mind Nats history, never mind D.C. baseball history. One of the best clutch performers in Washington, D.C. sports history, period. Stephen Strasburg, in his postseason career, 9 games, including 8 starts, 55 1/3 innings. So, not some microscopic sample size. ERA of 1.46, whip of 0.94, a strikeouts to walks ratio of 71-8. 71 strikeouts versus 8 walks. Again, one of the best clutch performers in Washington, D.C. sports history. And that ultimately is his legacy more than anything else. Yes, you mentioned the injuries. Yes, you mentioned the contract. But the number one item in the Stephen Strasburg legacy is that he is one of the best clutch performers in DC sports history. You tell us what you think. You can tweet us at Nats_chat. You can email us, natschatpodcast@gmail.com. Email from Joel Charney on our conversation on the last installment of the podcast about the possibility/likelihood of the Nats taking LSU starting pitcher Paul Skeens with the number 2 overall pick in the 2023 MLB draft. If, in fact, the Pittsburgh Pirates take LSU outfielder Dylan Cruz with the number 1 overall pick in the draft. But what if the Pirates take neither Cruz nor Skeens? Writes Joel. Thanks for another great season to date of the Nats Chat podcast. Whether the Nats win or lose, you all put on an analytical clinic every day, and it's nice to see the Nats being competitive after the dismal start. Well, thank you very much for that, Joel. Continues, Joel. The Nats might have a choice of Cruz or Skeens, as the Pirates may go with a high school player to save money for an above-slot signing with their next pick. Not sure if any of you are ESPN Insider subscribers, but see this piece from Kylie McDaniel. As a Pirates fan, I think this would be insane, but it's already out there as a possibility. So if the choice is Cruz, who is being compared to Mike Trout, or Skeens, who is being talked about as the best college pitcher since Garrett Cole or Stephen Strasburg, who do you pick? Keeping in mind that you never pick for need in the MLB draft. So the fact that the Nats have Wood, Hassel, and Green in the system makes no difference. For what it's worth, The Athletic's Keith Law says it is a stone-cold lock that Mike Rizzo will take Dylan Cruz if the Pirates try to get clever. It's a shame that the draft is still 5 weeks away, but this gives you all plenty of time to mull this over. Thank you for the email, Joel. So if the Nats do have their choice of Dylan Cruz or Paul Skeens, the choice should be Cruz, because there's a lot more certainty with position players in MLB drafts than there is with pitchers in MLB drafts, mainly due to the frequency with which pitchers get hurt. Assuming that the Nats consider both Cruz and Skeens to be outstanding prospects, the pick should be Cruz if the Pirates do what they, by the way, should not do and don't take Cruz or Skeens. And Joel is 100% right. The idea that, hey, well, the Nats already have 3 promising outfield prospects in James Wood, Robert Hassel III, and Elijah Green. Do not think like that, okay? Remove that thought from your mind. Erase that thought from your hard drive. A team in the MLB draft, especially a rebuilding team like the Nats, should take the best players available regardless of positions. And you think about this, I mean, Wood and or Hassel and or Green could get hurt, could not pan out. And if all 3 do pan out and Cruz does pan out, you could always trade one of those guys for a massive haul. So to me, I would go Dylan Cruz if, in fact, the Nats at 2 have their pick of Cruz or Paul Skeens. Man, if the Pirates don't take one of those guys and each guy turns out to be a stud, what is that going to say about the Pirates if the guy who they take does not turn out to be a stud? So we'll see. It is fascinating, though. This is one of the most interesting MLB drafts in years, and not just because the Nats have the number 2 overall pick. The 2023 MLB draft will begin on Sunday night, July 9th. I can't wait. I'm really looking forward to it. All Nationals radio highlights on Nats Chat are courtesy of 106.7 The Fan. A thank you to Tim Newmark. For the Nats Chat podcast music, visit timnewmark.com. Nats Chat is on the radio Sunday mornings, 11 to 12 on ESPN Richmond, which is 106.1 FM in the Richmond, Virginia area, and ESPNRichmond.com online. I'm Al Galdi. Thank you for listening, and we'll talk to you next time on the Nats Chat podcast.
High chopper. Ball game is over, and he's done it. Paul Skeens goes the distance and wins it 7-2, and LSU is moving on.